A wonderful good morning to everybody and welcome to the press conference at this year's IPM here at Messe Essen. I would like to welcome all the media representatives here in the room and also the speakers here and everybody who made a contribution to organize this meeting. And I also would like to welcome the journalists at home on their screens. Very welcome. Some introductory information. We will first have 4 speakers, and after the talks we will have a round of questions and answers. You can ask questions here in the room, and the journalists at home can use the player below, the chat in their player. And then we will go outside and we'll have a trend and product presentation, and we will see 5 very interesting exhibitors of IPM presenting their novelties. But let us get started right away with the CEO of Messe Essen, Oliver P. Kuhrt. Please join me here. Well, tomorrow we will have the kickoff for the 40th IPM. First of all, good morning, everybody. So the 40th IPM starts tomorrow. What is your impression? Well, it's a little bit different from the years before, and IPM, of course, always means that we are nervous to get started. It's a positive feeling at the beginning of the year, and to have such a big show here is a good start into the year. But this year we are also celebrating an anniversary, and this is why we are even more excited than before. And we also watch what is happening outside. We also meet a lot of people who were part of the show right from the start, and we can see positive feedback already. Let's imagine in 1983 we started the success story of IPM Essen. At the time we had 150 exhibitors, and for a first event it was quite remarkable, but at the time only coming from 6 countries, and they mainly showed their plants. And in the coming years there were more and more areas joining, because if you produce plants you need technology, concepts, how to sell them, creative ideas and the right equipment. So new clusters appeared, and this is now giving us the largest show. 40 years, congratulations. What does IPM make so unique? Well, the first thing I would like to mention is that this is not an anonymous fair about industrial products. No, for me, IPM is a very personal show. For many, many years, the show has been accompanied and organized by the team that was there right at the start. And these close ties between the team and the exhibitors is something you can feel here, and this means that you are very emotional. Yes, I saw many people embrace when they met. Yes, this really is a show where you embrace people a lot and where you really meet them. And this is so great about this show, that you have this nice atmosphere and this enthusiasm. And there are many exhibitors who were there right from the first show, who were loyal and kept coming back. And if you see the dynamic movements outside, we did not always have success, but also some slumps in the industry. But nevertheless, people always came, and also came here because they saw now we have the start of the season. 3 weeks later in spring, you are normally even wiser and you know what the start is. Here we still have a lot of hope, and in 3 weeks' time we'll see whether the start is really good. But now I'm really happy that we have found this wonderful slogan, "Our Heart Beats Green," because this summarizes the show. And this also fits in with the weather that we have outside, which changed over the weekend. What are the activities that you're planning for this year? Well, tomorrow, of course, we'll have the big opening ceremony with a lot of guests of honors and loyal exhibitors and partners who helped us in the years past. I already met some of the loyal exhibitors this morning, and I heard how long they were here already, and our partners' associations. For the first time, this opening ceremony will be done in the glass foyer. Probably you saw it yourself outside, and you can see that people are still preparing. And this really has a great radiation effect into the city. People can see that we are celebrating here. It's visible from the outside, and this is also the place where we'll have our exhibitors' night for celebrations. But we are not only celebrating here on site, but also in the social media, and this is something that we also saw. These social media have developed so strongly in the recent years. Gardening companies are very active on social media, tree nurseries, international, national companies, and we set up a social web for this show. And if you also would like to send us your best wishes using the social web, you can send us a message why his or her heart beats green as well, or can leave some congrats. This is working under the hashtag congrats IPM Essen, and there you can leave your message, and this is like a social wall where you can see all the messages that are sent. We think that this is great, and we also have a special heart that we installed as a photo background. You can see this campaign heart which is beating, and it's now being installed in the eastern foyer. This is a sculpture 3 meters high, full of flowers and plants, and you can use it as a background for your photos, and you also have the paper version on your table. So you can use this as a background for your own personal photos. When I heard about it, I thought about weddings where you've got these large walls of roses. This is similar, isn't it? Yes, and we hope that people will use this and send a message out from Essen. We are really talking about the leading fair, and there is nothing that is even comparable to this show. Perhaps you already walked around a little bit. It's enormous, a lot of exhibitors doing their best in order to offer an attractive show. And IPM Essen is a communication, order and information event. What can the visitors look forward to? First of all, it is a very international show. This is not a matter, of course, let's just think back 2 or 3 years. We almost forgot about the pandemic, and now we have a wonderful situation again. We've got many international visitors. We expect 1,403 exhibitors from 43 countries, and this is plus 5% in the numbers of exhibitors, and this is really great. We see a lot of international companies. 66% of the participating companies come from abroad, and this shows you how international this industry is. And this means that all the halls are fully used, and the Galleria as well. For the plants, well, this is, of course, the strongest part of the show. There is no other specialist show where you can find so many plants in halls 1 and 2, in the Galleria and in parts of hall 5, but also in hall 6. So you'll see the plant producers showing their offers. In hall 7, the German tree nurseries are presenting their products, and we also have a joint stand of the Oldenburg tree nurseries, and we've got a new special show on commercial vehicles, because we see that there is a lot of demand regarding the use of vehicles So here you can go to Hall 8, and there you'll see the Dutch producers of shrubs and perennials, and you'll also find the registrations for the Show Your Colors Award organized by Biz Holland for the best marketing story. And something that I really like, we always had some loose contact, but now we have the International Association of Horticultural Producers, AIPH, which is back to IPM Essen, and this association will then also present the International Grower of the Year Awards on the first night of the first trade show day. Then we've got plans for the future. They will really play a major role at IPM Essen. We have little tours on the topic of climate-resistant trees and insect-friendly perennials. And as this was so popular last year, we decided to expand this area. The start of the tours is the meeting point in Hall 6. And in addition to this, the Association of German Tree Nurseries offers a seminar on large trees for the cities. This will take place on Wednesday. And on Thursday, the Association for Gardening, Landscaping and Sports Facilities will take a look at the landscaping views and the use of artificial intelligence in this industry. So this is in our Congress area. Let me also give you some information on technology. Technology covers around 30% of the exhibitors, slightly more than last year, and this mainly in the halls 3, 4, and in parts of the Galleria. All the market leaders are present and show their innovations around glasshouses, irrigation, illumination, soils, fertilizer, pots, logistics. And a major highlight is the Innovation Center Horticulture Technology, which is happening for the second time. Several times a day, we will be listening to experts talking about the topics I just mentioned, but also on the topic of water management, peat reduction, automation, AI, and energy. Now, let's move on to floristry. You can see in Hall 5, we are very busy with floristry, and the major share of exhibitors focus on floristry. This accounts for a share of 9% roundabout, and I'm very happy to say that we've got an excellent cooperation with FDF, and we'll have the Best Practice Awards, and we will present innovative products, especially inspiration for the useful expansion of the assortments in retail trade can be seen in the concept store, which focuses on tableware, garden gourmet, stationery, and these are topics which were very popular last year, and we want to expand them. In Hall 5, you'll then find the Young Innovators. This is a joint production. We, of course, want to focus on young startup companies, and we want to push them and give them some support. And we also cooperate with the Federal Ministry for the Economy. Young Innovators is a presentation of young German startups with a link to the horticulture industry, and it's great to have a meeting point. And then in Hall 1A, which is better known as Green City, we'll have all the green associations, and we also have the teaching show Gardeners Can Do This, the novelty showcase, and the FDF World. But Mrs. Kähler-Theuerkauf will probably share some more information, and Mr. Götz as well. New in Hall 1A is the IPM Discovery Center. The Discovery Center is not new, but the location is new because it used to be in Hall 7. And I'm very happy that Romeo Sommers, our trend scout, offers tours and present new marketing ideas and POS concepts, which is always very exciting and enriching IPM. And then I'm looking forward to a special premiere in the Discovery Center, and this is the IPM podcast from the greenhouse. I'm really curious, and I will go there. I will probably not go inside, but I will watch what is happening from the outside. It's a great idea because renowned personalities from the industry will report about current topics, change of generations, climate-resistant trees, floristry trends. It's a glass studio, similar to a glass greenhouse, and I hope it's not too warm inside. And there we will record podcasts and interviews. And special guest in this glass studio is the biologist and DJ Dominik Eulberg. Well, I don't know him, I have to admit, but I was told that he is really very famous, and I definitely will go there and listen to what he does. And you will have the opportunity then to use headphones in order to listen in to what is discussed inside. This is a real highlight. And then we, of course, also focus on talent development. Talents are very important, and this has always been part of IPM, and we want to continue to focus on this. The forum Occupation and Future, in cooperation with the Eugen Ulmer publishing house, shows the best opportunities for young talents in the industry. Then we also have the Green Career Wall, which is very important for everybody who is looking for a job or offers a job, so a wonderful platform for exchange. The day of training organized by the special associations on Wednesday invites students to get to know the industry and come together. I'm really looking forward to this because this is really showing young people in a practical way what the industry is all about and get them closer to our industry. So you can see there is a lot to see in this 40th IPM, and we also quite happy that we have so many exhibitors. Well, unfortunately, we now heard that we've got the strike of the railroad company in Germany starting on Wednesday, which will probably affect us, but the weather is quite positive. And at this point, I would like to thank everybody. I would like to thank you, the media representatives, for positively supporting the event in the past. And today I am very happy to see you here in presence, face to face, but I also thank everybody who's sitting at their screens, and I also would like to thank all the partner associations who were cooperating in the past. And it's not only these few days in January, but we have many preparatory meetings and advisory board meetings. I'm now looking forward to a great show. Thank you. We will meet again for the round of questions and answers. Thank you to you.
Jetzt weiter.
Okay, so we're now going to continue with Eva Kähler-Theuerkauf, President of Regional Horticultural Association of North Rhine-Westphalia and Chairwoman of the IPM Essen Advisory Board. Hi. So just grab a mic. Let's see whether it's actually on. This one is. So we'll take this one. So why is IPM so very important for the industry? Well, I can just immediately pick up where Kuhrt left off. He said in 1983 it was 150 exhibitors, and here is one of them, me. In 1983, we actually had a booth at the trade show, and we have to think about why it actually came about in 1983. There were no mobile phones at the time, hard to imagine, but it was only in 1989 that we came up with the World Wide Web. So we needed networking. We needed to get people's attention in a very traditional way. And that is how the trade fair got the idea of creating this kind of concept on a small scale, initiating it on a small scale. And we decided to participate because at the time we thought, well, maybe we will gain some new customers and become better known. And when I think back at the 150 exhibitors in 1983 and consider that now, in spite of everyone having smartphones and using them around the clock and the World Wide Web, we have 1,403 exhibitors from 43 nations represented at this trade show. Considering this, I think we really have to say that IPM has become such a successful concept. It's unbelievable. This small plant that started growing in 1983 has flourished into a really colorful bouquet. And this is what IPM is all about. It's not just family for me. Yes, I'm a very haptic person. I like to hug people, but I just also have to say I love it. When I come here, I feel at home. And when you're at home and you feel at ease, you like to talk to people. You are happy to pick up new information. This is what you feel like in a family. You sit at a table with people and you exchange ideas. And that's exactly what we need. The requirements that horticulture will have to deal with in future is so varied. Climate change is just one of that big picture. We have to look at how things are going to develop in future, how we can continue to accompany our businesses successfully in future. And this is the platform for the information that we need. We also offer guided tours at the trade fair. We offer opportunities for exchange and further education, starting with plant producers to plant pot producers, substrate producers, logistics companies. Everyone is present here. And if you ask me again, why is this a success story? Well, I think I just answered and explained that. Well, I will strike that question then. So what impact does horticulture have on people's well-being and happiness? Well, I thought about this, and we now have the World Wide Web, as we know. So I used it yesterday to have a Google search and just find out what it does to us. So within 0.3 seconds, a very short period of time, I came up with 2,330,000 hits saying that gardening makes people happy. And I think that's an unbelievable figure. So it just goes to show that a very high number of people looks into why nature is so very important for us. Let's look at the big picture. We have the Federal Horticultural Show. We have the IGA 2024. People are visiting these shows, these trade fairs. They want to relax. They want to have the feeling of a small vacation. They want to get new ideas. So we see people coming to trade shows, showing pictures of their plants and gardens, asking for advice. What can I do? How can I change things? How can I improve? So they gather information here and take it home. And so starting from this, we also have to look at the large-scale picture: climate change, urban greening, changing our cities, heat periods. Cities are becoming increasingly heated up, but with green facades, green roofs, trees, public parks, we have the opportunity of making an impact. We have possibilities of reducing these urban temperatures. And when we look at our infrastructures, we can think about how important are parks, especially during the pandemic. We found out how very important green spaces and gardens are for our recovery. And that is why I believe if we really consider all the details, we have learned that there is an endorphin rush when you work in your garden. I hope you have a garden. Don't tell me you don't. Well, I'm about to do some gardening. So you should talk to your wife. I already talked to my father-in-law, let me tell you, and they will be able to tell you exactly what you need to do in order to create this happy oasis in your garden. Because gardens for individual people, this is the kind of oasis I'm talking about. This is where people feel at home and at ease, where they relax, and that really is a relaxing effect for your body and soul. You don't need a gym, you don't need yoga. You have a garden. Well, I'll tell my wife. Ms. Kähler-Theuerkauf told me it's not all work. No, you will need to. This is actually good for you. Yes, that's what my wife will tell me, and that's what my mother-in-law tells my father-in-law. Well, we talked about the lack of skilled labor, so how about up-and-coming talents in horticulture? Well, we really should be experiencing a rush, but unfortunately we aren't. We need to advertise more because the topics we've just addressed are topics that also are important to the young people. Environment, nature, what can we do to improve things? What do we need? And this is where we get to a very serious level. In future, we will need leaders when it comes to municipal creation or shaping of our cities and green spaces. We don't only need specialists, we also will need leaders who are able to lead companies that meet our expectations and needs in terms of robotics, IT, fertilizer, machines, irrigation. All of these are huge topics in horticulture. Irrigation is a huge topic. We don't want to waste resources. And this is where we really will need people who've got their hearts and minds set on these goals and who are looking for inspiration. And I also thought about what we are going to need for that. So let me ask the world at large, all the young people out there. We're looking for engineers, technicians, plant docs, consultants, plant lovers, those who fulfill our wishes, nerds, influencers, researchers, world improvers, collectors, and those who look for what is impossible. That is what we need in horticulture. And everyone who enjoys this sort of thing will find their space in horticulture because they can follow their own talents and interests, finding their special area of work where they can really realize their dreams. It is an opportunity for young talents to realize their dreams. So that is why I call upon all young people out there, join us, get to work. We are the ones who want to move things forward, who want to see things grow. And I think this is something we have to think about today. If we start to get to work, we see what we create. And that is an advantage that we have over many other professions. It is highly satisfying at the end of the day to see that you have made people happy, that you have produced something that is alive. What more could you possibly ask for? Yes, I think this is a very interesting point. This is also what a trade show is there for. And often we neglect this unless we explicitly go to a career trade fair. As a young person in a period of career orientation, IPM Essen is a good place to come and just to check out what's out there. Indeed, we have 500 young people registered for the trade show. I hope the railway strike won't get in our way. It would be such a shame because we really are imagining to engage these young people. We have booths that would allow people to get to work in a haptic manner. We see our florists. That's also a very popular booth that the young people like to visit. So we have this variety that we can present to them. And I think very often young people visiting the trade show will find, oh yes, this is what horticulture is all about. But that's not the innovation showcase, is it? No, not yet. But let's talk about the innovation showcase. Let me tell you, we will have 55 new plants to present. And this is the 15th time for this to take place this year. And out of 31 exhibitors from 8 countries, we will be seeing these innovations and novelties. Most of them come from Germany and the Netherlands. And it is shrubs that are in the lead this year, followed by potted plants. And thanks to the pandemic, they really have experienced a comeback. Indoor potted plants, that is, so having your own monstera is a big deal. We have bedding plants, balcony plants, of course, as well. And the awards will be given this afternoon, so I can't tell you anything much yet, even if I say pretty please, no. But in any case, if we both were to go and visit this event, it would be tomorrow afternoon in Hall 1A. We could take a lovely tour and get to see all these innovative plants and novelties. And of course, we can imagine what course we are going to steer, coming full circle with the environmental topics. What plants are more climate resistant? What plants are more drought resistant and can cope with dry climates? Because, of course, customers these days don't want to have too much work in order to reap something beautiful. And we have solutions for that too. Phew, that's good to know. So Hall 1A, what time? That's 2 p.m. Okay, 2 p.m. Well, that's it for now. Thank you. And you'll be joining us again for the Q&A as you like. Oh, we would love that. And our journalists at home can enter their questions in the chat window below the player window, and I'll be able to read them here on my pad, and then we'll pass them on to the colleagues and speakers. Thank you very much for now.
And now
I would like to ask Jürgen Mertz to join me here. He is the president of the German Horticultural Association, ZVG. We are now looking forward to hear some facts and figures for 2023. Well, I was sitting here listening to Eva Kähler-Theuerkauf and Oliver P. Kuhrt. And from both, you really heard about the enthusiasm and then the joy. And now I'm here and I'm going to present boring market figures. Well, here I really have to dampen your mood a little bit. Mrs. Kähler-Theuerkauf already shared what we have seen in the pandemic. We had a huge peak, but unfortunately the industry did not keep up this good situation and keep up a linear development. In 2021, we had 10.1 billion. This was, well, from this was a increased by 800 million, then in 2020 down to 9 billion, and in 2023 we are back to 8.6. So you see that I'm a little bit thoughtful here, because I always want to see the figure for 2021, 1.5 billion, and this means that we have 1.5 million less in sales, and this is not very pleasant. If you now take a look at the individual market segments, you can also see it here on the chart in percentages. And let us take a look at some areas. Well, we've got a reduction by 4% all in all. And for cut flowers and indoor plants, what Mrs. Kähler-Theuerkauf just mentioned, we were quite stable. So foliage plants are not so in trend any longer, but based on the cost side of the companies, the prices, of course, had to be increased quite a lot. I just would like to mention the increasing energy prices after the Ukraine war. And of course, these rising costs had to be passed on to the customers. And then we had the wages and salaries rising again. And then if you bear in mind the 1.6 billion, you can see that we really sold less. In the garden market, this is most important. With 94 euros, I'm just saying 94 euros, you can now divide the 8.6 billion by the 83 million inhabitants. Then you come up with a per capita spending of 100 to 102 euros, and half of this is gardening, and this is horticulture, potted herbs and vegetables and bulbs. There we were quite stable. But we also had some segments there which saw a loss. And I would like to mention bedding and balcony plants. And this is one of the focus points during the IPM. People only spend 20 euros per capita. And here we have to get active. We have to increase our sales. And Oliver P. Kuhrt just talked about AI, artificial intelligence, and I opened ChatGPT last night and asked how can we increase our sales again, and then ChatGPT said you need more customers. Well, that was helpful, but unfortunately this is everything that I can share with you now on the current figures. But ChatGPT will probably give you a better answer if you ask again. ZVG is carrying out category analysis every year. What are the results? Well, we are doing this every 5 years in order to see for our industry how the flow of goods and merchandise are developing. And the pandemic, of course, changed a lot. All the population was sitting at home. And in many of the federal states, the gardening shops could still be open, but the customers were getting used to online business more and more. And well, many of our companies are now offering the goods and marketed and transported all their goods to the customer's home. And we now can see plants sold everywhere in the social media, in the web. And this shows that very often one step is skipped. It's going directly from the producer to the end consumer, and it's not in the classical way that you first have the producer, then the retailer, then the customer. So now some areas are skipped, and we have to respond to this. I'm also operating a garden center, and we, of course, have to make sure that the customer comes back to us. In our discussion before the start of the meeting, you also talked to me about the farmers' protests and the political situation. What is your opinion here? Well, I would like to pass on this question. I think nobody is sitting here who says, well, everything is fine and dandy here in Germany. Yes, I, of course, was fascinated when I saw the farmers' protests and when I saw how many people were standing there in Berlin protesting against the political scene. And then you see what is the burden, the vehicle tax, the petrol prices. Well, and are not the only points. Well, it's too much. Everything is coming together. The CO2 prices. Eva and I went to the Green Week in Berlin. It's no longer called the International Green Week. And this is really one of the most important topics. And CO2 taxes, and if you then say in 2023, 30 euros had to be paid for CO2 emissions. And if this goes to 45 euros the next year, then it's a high percentage, is 50%. And if you then also have all your existing contracts with the retailers, normally you already have the contracts in summertime, and then the higher prices will not be reflected there. So the producer will suffer, and this can't go on. We need better planning, and this back and forth and these movements of the coalition government in Germany. Well, I didn't want to talk about it, but now when I listened to the radio coming here, I heard some reports. No, we have to get away from the ideological policies, and it's not only about CO2 emissions, but it's about planning security, plant protection, crop protection. I am selling products myself, and the population, the people are coming to us and say, please help me, my plants are ill. And then we are not allowed to sell crop protection. We even have customers who buy our biological herbs, and then 2 weeks later they come back. No, now you have to help me because I've got pests on my biologically grown herbs. So we need a better concept, and we need a better development. Well, after talking about the government, you talked about the market figures, you talked about the political situation. I hardly dare ask you about the outlook for 2024. You can ask me about an outlook, no problem. I know that there are many colleagues sitting here who have accompanied IPM and the industry for many years. Horticulture always participated positively when the economic situation in Germany was getting worse, because people no longer go on holidays. In 2020, after the summer in 2021, everybody wanted to go to in vacation again, but this will not happen. The customers no longer have so much money for traveling, for example, and then we might see a pickup. People will stay at home, and they will be more interested in their gardens again. Our industry is very innovative, and I always say the International Plant Show here is the kickoff of the year. Here you come full of depression, but then when you leave on Friday, you are euphoric and thrilled and happy. Mr. Kuhrt will be very happy to hear this. Yes, but this is really true, because you meet colleagues who encourage you, and then you go back home with a lot of passion and you implement it in your companies. Thank you very much, Mr. That's for your contribution, and we'll now also have the Q&A. No, stay here. I would like to ask Mr. Kuhrt, Ms. Kähler-Theuerkauf, and you, no, not true. Now we'll first hear Mr. Götz, President of the German Florists Association. I was too fast in my notes already, so now it's better. Hi, Mr. Götz. Nice to see you.
Ja, wir haben Mikrohickhack, genau.
So schnell wird man umgeschlagen und
Well, this is how people simply neglect and forget about you. What highlights does the FDF world have to offer this year? Well, we have a whole lot of highlights for our florist colleagues and all of those who are interested in our industry. So we have the incumbent world champion, the incumbent German champion is a guest. We have many visiting florists from other countries. We have a competition for apprentices, trainees. So we have the World Skills competition, which is not only Europe, but actually worldwide, ultimately, where apprentices face the challenge of participating in this competition. So this is also happening at IPM this year. And then, of course, in the sales segment, we have sales events. Advertising plays an important role, and we need customers to come to us to develop an interest and approach us voluntarily and be ready to spend money and give us the financial means and funds that we need. Well, we are in a societal situation marked by uncertainty. What is the situation in floristry? Well, I have to endorse what the previous speakers have said. We take a very cautious stance. We find that our end customers simply no longer have the financial means that they used to. They are much more reserved in their spending. They consider more carefully where and how to spend. So what Mr. Mertz said about the pandemic, all of those developments are no longer at the fore. The pandemic period was very different. At the beginning, we found it tough, but what we are facing now, I would say, has financial implications that really show a downward trend, especially with flowers too. Flowers are always an emotional thing. You can touch people's emotions with flowers in a way that you can't with other items. Well, sustainability is a big buzzword at this year's IPM. What is your position on sustainability? Well, sustainability is on our agenda too. As you can see, my colleagues distributed these beautiful roses here, and sustainability is something we will have to face increasingly, especially this Porta Nova rose that you see in front of you is a rose that is 95% sustainable in its production these days. So there is a lot happening in this industry that we are linked up with, that's horticulture. So innovations in that sector need to happen in order to provide to the end customer what they expect from us. We, as florists, are, of course, the last link in that chain. We have to rely on growers and producers communicating to us what is happening so we can communicate it to our consumers, and that's everything. And what innovations do florists have to offer this year? Well, we have innovations with respect to the fact that we have asked our exhibitors and partners to pick up on the sustainability topic so we can present it to our customers and show how far we have gotten with respect to sustainability already. Of course, we always look at the status quo, and we've not reached the end of the road in terms of sustainability yet. We, as the association, had a roundtable in September in Gelsenkirchen, where we invited many different associations, partners. The ZVG was invited, Flora Metz, Oasis, Florop was at the table too. So we were able to bring together many who have to do with cut flowers and cut flower trade, because I think we have to look at how we can do things and how we can pool our resources, because I think we don't need 23 options if 22 options touch 3/4 of our industry, because this is where we can combine our forces, join forces, and speak with one voice externally and give our people options to introduce sustainability in their operations, because I think this is the starting point. The operations are the starting point to taking a sustainable impact in the long run. Okay. That's it. Abrupt end. Were you going to say more? Of course I was going to say more. Do visit Hall 1A, please, and you will see something that will make you feel at ease, a sort of atmosphere or ambience that has drawn people to IPM for years, that enthuses people, and that gives us a taste of our innovations, regardless of whether it's from growers or rediscovering potted plants. This is something we present to consumers, to our customers, so we can hopefully emerge strengthened into this somewhat cautious year 2024, and up until the end of the year, we don't know what it's going to look like. At the moment, we're looking at the crystal ball, and the impressions aren't all that positive. Well, Mr. Mertz says something else. Let's see. Thank you for now. Thank you for your contribution, Mr. Götz.
Und jetzt kommt mein Text, den ich vorhin gesagt habe.
And now I can say what I said before. You will stay here, and I would like to ask Ms. Kähler-Theuerkauf, Mr. Kuhrt, and Mr. Mertz to join us here. Please come here. Now we all have a glass of water, or almost. Okay, now over to you. Please ask your questions, ladies and gentlemen, and also some information to the journalists at home. Below the player window, you can enter your questions into the chat, and I will see them here on my pad. So, the floor is open for questions. Now you will get a microphone. Hello, Stefan Schulte is my name, and I come from Watz. Two questions. One, as a layperson to Mr. Götz. You said 95% sustainable. This is the rose here. I would like to understand what this means. Why is it only 95% sustainable? What is the missing part? Well, it's always difficult to reach 100%. There's always a little margin because there are some things that you can't properly control. But just scan in the QR code and then you'll understand how we came up with the percentage and what the remaining 5% is. Okay, thank you very much. I will do so. And now a question to Mr. Mertz. You said that the CO2 prices are a big burden to you. Yes, I do understand because things are getting more expensive. But how does it fit in with the situation that your industry is also feeling the effects of the climate change? You have to reinvent plants, and now you say, yes, it's getting more expensive, but this measure is bad, even if it is meant to improve the climate. Well, first of all, I have to say that our plants also store a lot of CO2, and, well, we are treated in the same way as any other industrial company. But what do we produce? We produce young plants for vegetable production, bedding and balcony plants that improve diversity, protect insects, and then we are treated in the same way as a steelmaking industry. This is one point. CO2 prices already started under the previous government, but with a different approach. What is to be paid will have to be flow back into the innovation of the industry. But this was now changed in the current government. We are paying the high price, but we are not getting anything back. And this is the point where we say we need support, and we also have to take into account what it is that we are producing. Further questions? Please just raise your hands. Microphone is coming. I wanted to ask a question regarding young talent. How many young people are lacking in North Rhine-Westphalia, in Germany? And how can you make efforts to win them? Because perhaps money is also a point here. Because if I think of a landscaping gardener, well, people could earn more in other industries. No, I don't think that money is playing a major role here. Young people, well, first of all, we do have good salaries and wages. We increased our salaries, and companies who are looking for new staff are also willing to give more to the people and make their work interesting. Perhaps the companies will also give the young people a car or other benefits. For young people nowadays, it's important to have the total package. And the work-life balance, well, you no longer work to live, but you want to live, and your work has to fit in with your life. And this is why I was saying what I said before. We offer a lot of things where people can develop their own interests. We now sometimes have to apply to the young people, and we are offering good circumstances so that they come to us. Otherwise, you can't find anybody, no matter at what level in education, after 10 years of schooling or 12 years of schooling. This is not so important. We now have to get the attention of the young people. And we are competing with 660 other training companies, and the pond from which we fish is not getting any bigger, and the number of young people entering the market is not getting bigger. Most of the people sitting here are still part of the baby boomer generation, but in 10 years, most of us, 30%, will be retired. And if we don't get started now, and if we don't use what we can do best, then we will fail. We have so much to offer to young people, but we have to tell them about it. We have to start campaigns. We have to present ourselves as employers so that young people see us, perceive us, and see that it might be good for their lives as well. So I cannot give you any specific figure. This would just be conjecture. It wouldn't be fair to give you a figure, but I can tell you the reasons why we have a problem and what we can do and what we have started, because what will happen in the future because of climate change that can't be stopped any longer. But this means that we'll have changes. We've got changes in the structures of our cities. We have less diversity. And this is something that we can support. We can do something good. And we have to show what we can do positively. So we should not instill fear, but we should show people how important our products are. And then we've got a realistic opportunity to change things and to also thrill young people. Mr. Götz also raised his hand. Yes, for our industry, it's similar. We also have facing the same problems. We don't have enough talent. But then we also have the problem that people have to work Saturdays as well. Saturdays are part of our working week. And now most of the working people finish work on Friday afternoon, and our young people want to have a day off. Many people say, well, I would like to have 2 days off at a row. So this is a problem for us. And what is also important in our occupation, as a lay person, I normally only see the peak of the work, the tip of the iceberg, and this is what is representative. This is what you can see in Hall 1A, but until you really reach this peak, then you have to do a lot of work which is wet, which is cold, and so on and so forth, and young people may not be really prepared to do this because they only want to have the beautiful things at the top, but not the hard work that is necessary beforehand. This was like in the past, and this is how it is today as well. Now, I have to come in here. I'll grab the microphone. You know, if you fight a woman, you will be in a bad situation. Well, basically, everybody sitting here has already seen our work. We accompany you through all your life. This is something that you should always bear in mind. I don't know any wedding where you don't have a bouquet for the bride. You can have your wedding in various ways, but everybody will have flowers. And when it's about anniversary events, beautiful events, we are part of it. And this is so important to tell people. If we advertise our vocations, then please tell people we are the ones who fulfill wishes, who make life more pleasant to people, even if there are some hard and difficult parts in our work. Mr. Mertz, now I'm really anxious to see how you respond. Well, you ask about measures. Well, we are now implementing a new training decree, and this was something that we did under the last government coalition. There it was said when the training programs are older than 20 years, we have to change things, we have to refurbish them, and we've got many different areas, from cemeteries to shrubs to gardening and so on and so forth. But there is one area which we are not training, and this is the retail gardener. We are not training anybody who is selling the flowers in retail trade. If you take a look at popular jobs, we have 56,000 people who want to work in the flower trade and 35,000 who want to work in the supermarket. So we've got a lot of people who want to sell flowers, but they only want to sell. They want to have contact with the end customers, and we want to reach them. And this has two impacts. First of all, we'll have a completely new group of young people for our profession, and those who are now going to now the DIY shops and the other supermarkets are getting the trainees. Here we need a new perspective. Not all the wonderful gardeners can also sell well. Sometimes the gardeners say, oh no, I'm afraid of being in touch with my customers, and that's not good. So an interesting topic, and all the experts here have their own opinion about it. Now we have a question coming in from the live stream, and this is from the company Werbestudio. Using water storage, fertilizers, sugar beets, potatoes, does this make sense? Well, I can't see a question here. So can you pick up on what was written here? Well, basically it's about water efficiency. And then this person was also talking about sugar beets. This is something that we normally don't do, but I can also tell you that there are interesting discussions happening at the political level. Just go on the motorways in summer. If you see the sprinklers at noontime, then this doesn't make sense. You have to save water, and we are doing this, and there is a special program now by banks, supported by the ministries. We want to become more efficient in the use of water in our industry. We are already efficient, but we want to get even more efficient. Okay, thank you. These were all the questions we received online. And if you don't have a burning question right now, I would like to say tell you that you can, of course, also ask questions later on. You can address them to the press office here at Messe Essen. We were slightly longer than expected, so now I suggest that we now change locations and you can follow us outside, because then we will present you some very important innovations and you will also hear the experts present their goods. First of all, thank you very much for this discussion, Mr. Götz, Mrs. Kähler-Theuerkauf, Mr. Mertz, and Mr. Kuhrt. Thank you for your attention so far, and I would like to ask you to stay here for a photograph.
So we are now in the foyer and we are about to start our trend and product presentation. Next to me is Manfred Hoffmann, Creative Director of the FDF, and he is going to tell us about the novelties and innovations. So this is the 40th IPM. We can look back at 40 excellent, successful years. We've already heard about the development and success of the industry over the years, and floristry too has changed greatly. So this is the type of product that was en vogue and trendy and has been for a long time. Your interpreter apologizes because this speaker doesn't have a microphone. He is incredibly hard to hear. So we looked at flowers not in terms of their individuality, but much more at the fact that this is a surface that we create here, and we very deliberately use colors and shapes in this design. This is what this bouquet looked like, a very beautiful representative example of this period. This is also the period during which I grew up, so I can recall this very well. And in the course of my research, I also found some excellent examples, including a book from that period. So yes, I could really feel this. Of course, there have been many changes over time, and that's also obvious. So I will take this mic from you. Thank you. So, of course, we've got a giant leap coming into the current year, 2024, and we are experiencing a lot of societal change, a lot of fears, concerns, worries about global developments, economic developments. Populations and societies are a little bit shaken up. They are striving and wishing for harmony as well as change as well, but they also want you to meet them somewhere at a feel-good point. And I think we all miss seeing a smile on people's faces. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, we don't always necessarily see a smiling person. We see the first few wrinkles, we see a level of seriousness. So we, as the floristry industry, can meet people with a smile. That is always our goal, to give them a smile, to fulfill their wishes. And I will call that a feel-good feeling. So feel good and give the world a smile back. That's our campaign. That's our spirit in what we do. And for the Spring Trend 2024, this is the Feelings Bouquet, which is very straight, very upright. It frees itself, coming from the depth, striving upwards with a lot of dynamics and spirit, very soft pastel colors, but still a good color mix that is also very strong. But it is also a homage to the absolute trend color 2024. Pantone celebrated it with peach fuzz. This is a color that we cannot do without this year. It really spans most of this year, and here we are celebrating it with small breakouts to the left and right, orange, red, coral, cream colors. So this is truly the highlight in 2024. A bouquet that is directed more at a younger target group, whom we see increasingly in our shops, who also have quite a different willingness to spend, not like the more established ones from the 50s and 60s who would have only spent half of what young people aged 20, 25 roundabout now are willing to spend. But for me, as a shop owner, this is a positive development in spite of all the difficult figures we've been hearing. But we need to attract people, and we know that people cannot withstand when we tempt them. So let's try and tempt them with this trend right at the basis. So the summer is going to be very lively. This is a very nicely scented diversity of flowers. It's a Mobo dance, so it's modern bohemian. This is a further development. We are moving away from the imperfection path, which was very prominent in recent years, but we are also moving away from boho and hippie. This is a modern interpretation of freedom, of happiness, of a kind of party mood, which you can imagine outdoors as well as in your home. So here we see the flowers dancing in a spectacle of wild branches. So it's a plethora of plants you wouldn't see next to each other in nature. So it's diversity just like we find it in our society and we find it in life. So no borders here, no limits. This is a joyous dance of our flowers. And we as florists, or we invite florists to join this dance to put a smile on people's lips worldwide. Thank you, Mr. Hoffmann. Now, Mr. Götz has a bouquet to hand over. Mr. Conte, as we belong to the early generation, mid-80s. In football, we say after the game is before the game, and in 40 years, we'll probably be standing here where we started out. So let me congratulate you to your 40th trade show anniversary, and we hope to have you around for another decade. Thank you very much.
Dankeschön. Und wir schreiten unseres Weges und
And we now move on to the next station. Please follow us. And we'll meet for the 3D water storage technology. And here I would like to invite Mr. Frey. Let's wait for the camera to position itself. Well, stay here. Now the microphone is gone again. Sorry. There it is. I will get the microphone. Mr. Frey, can you explain your technology? Yeah, well, we focus on water as a resource. As we all know, we had very hot summers in recent years, and you saw what this did to your lawns. There were no lawns, but these were deserts, and many people didn't even irrigate their lawns because it was too difficult, too expensive, and water as a resource is much too precious and valuable for us. And this is why we developed a water storage technology. We combine the water storage with the fertilizer and offer this in a very simple way to the consumer. And then you can save 30 to 35% of the water. You better use the water that is already in the soil, and this helps the plant to survive droughts. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And now let me grab the microphone and we move on one more stand. And we now would like to move here. Is that correct? So now here you've got a microphone. We now see the watering robot, and it will now go outside. Yes, it will now go outside. But briefly, I would like to describe what it is, what it does. This helps watering the earth, especially in cemeteries, because climate change makes it more difficult to water your plants properly. Normally, in some time ago, we only needed 28 water cycles. Now it goes up to 36 or 38. So you need more and more water, but at the same time, you've got less and less people to do this. And this is why we developed a robot which will water your graves. Normally it's doing it overnight. You can't see the robot working at night during the day. It's done overnight because nobody else will be on the cemetery, and we can save 25% of water and protect the plants. Perhaps we just let it move around a little bit so that you can see what's happening. And we have to open the doors now. Normally, we have a 3D map of the cemetery that is produced first, and with this, or based on this map, we develop the navigation route for the robot. We define the graves which are to be watered, and we can develop our watering pattern. So we can make sure that each grave gets enough water and is exactly the amount of water that it needs. If, for example, we have hot summer days, we can tell the robot, today we had a lot of sun, now you have to give every plant 35% more water. And we can also have different watering patterns for young plants and for older plants. And the software needs to be changed, and the robot could also change its route a little bit. It always looks for the most intelligent route. Now the robot will pass us here. You have to be a little bit careful because it's on remote control, and this means that the safety features. Oh no, this is no longer remote controlled, but now it will probably stop here. If I am standing here, the safety protection is on and it will stop. And now it goes outside, and we can show you how it waters the plants. We've got our ducts here, but we can also have any other type of water lances used. The water volume is 215 liters, but we also have automatic recharging stations. It's similar to old steam trains. We've got a huge vessel of water, and then there will be the tube introduced, the solenoid valve will open, the water will be drawn in, and then there is enough water again to go on watering the plants. And now during IPM, we also have a special offer to landscaping gardeners only having 200 or 300 graves to care for. Just come and see us in Hall 4. Thank you very much. And we now move on to Mr. Kienzler. Mr. Kienzler, you brought us your new variety of plants, which is called the heat experts. Yes, these are our heat experts. It's an assortment of different plants that can cope with heat and sunshine in summer, so that you've got a wonderful set of plants on your balcony, in your garden, even if you go away over a weekend and you don't have time to water. So here we've got these fleshy, thick leaves storing water, but we also have new, for example, this Texan desert rose here, which also copes well with summer heat. Next to the individual plants, we also offer mixes of 3 plants together. So the gardener at home, the end consumer, has a nice combination of 3 plants and can just put it into his balcony tub without any problems. Okay, thank you very much. Then we move on one step, and here we've got a very sustainable rose. This is your microphone. Rosy Boom Wildlife, a great name. My name is Sebastian Heinle, and I come from a tree nursery, and we came up with a new rose in order to find an answer to the challenges of our current times. This rose is drought resistant, heat resistant. It can live for a very long time without any additional watering, and it also is a wonderful plant providing nutrition to insects and bees. And in autumn time, it creates these little berries so that the birds also have food over winter. And it's also very popular as a nesting place for birds. So a real wonderful plant. Also for the simple gardener who doesn't know a lot about gardening, you just cut it in spring. You don't have to bear in mind any special rules. No, you just cut it a little bit in spring and then you'll have wonderful flowers in summer. Okay, thank you. This was the Trend and Product Show. In the wake of the press conference of IPM ESSEN 2024, I would like to thank all the journalists who joined us personally or via their screens. We are looking forward to IPM. IPM will start tomorrow and will last 4 days. Thank you very much for your attention and have a nice afternoon.